Have you ever wondered why some people suddenly change the moment your life begins to improve? They don't always fight you with their hands. They fight you with their attitude, their silence, their words, and sometimes with a smile that hides something much darker. The truth is, the moment you begin becoming the person they never believed you could become, you unknowingly become a mirror they can no longer avoid. Success has a strange way of revealing what was always hidden inside people. It doesn't create jealousy, it exposes it. A person who is at peace with themselves can watch another rise without feeling threatened. They see inspiration where others see competition, but a person who has spent years avoiding their own potential reacts differently. Every achievement you earn reminds them of every excuse they have ever made. Every step you take forward quietly exposes every step they refuse to take. Human psychology works in uncomfortable ways. Most people believe they are upset because someone else has more money, more respect, or more influence. But that is only the surface. Deep inside, what truly disturbs them is the realization that they could have changed their own lives, yet chose comfort over discipline, excuses over responsibility, and comparison over self-improvement. Instead of confronting this painful truth, the mind searches for an easier target. That target becomes you. This is why your growth often changes people more than it changes you. You may still speak the same way. You may still treat them with kindness. Yet suddenly, conversations become colder. Support turns into distance. Encouragement becomes sarcasm. It seems confusing because you believe your success should inspire those around you. But not everyone wants inspiration. Some people only want reassurance that staying the same was the right decision. The human ego protects itself at almost any cost. Admitting someone else earned their success through patience and discipline would force them to question their own choices. That kind of self-examination is painful. It is much easier to convince themselves that you were lucky, arrogant, dishonest, or undeserving. These stories are not created to describe your reality. They are created to protect theirs. This is why you should never become obsessed with proving yourself to people who have already decided to misunderstand you. Their opinions are often built on emotion, not evidence. The harder you try to explain your intentions, the more energy you waste fighting battles that exist only inside their minds. Real strength is understanding that not every misunderstanding deserves a response. The greatest mistake you can make is believing that everyone's reaction reflects your worth. Often, it reflects their inner conflict. When someone cannot compete with your discipline, they compete with your reputation. When they cannot match your consistency, they question your character. When they cannot reach your level, they try to lower your image. It is easier to pull someone down than to climb higher. So never fear becoming the mirror that exposes hidden weaknesses. Those who are willing to grow will be inspired by your journey. Those who refuse to grow will resent it. And that difference has nothing to do with who you are. It has everything to do with who they choose to become. Because once your growth becomes someone else's mirror, their next move will reveal more about them than it ever will about you. Once people realize they cannot ignore your progress, they rarely admit what they truly feel. Very few individuals have the courage to say, "I envy your discipline," or "Your growth reminds me of everything I failed to become." Instead, the human mind chooses a safer path. It disguises envy as wisdom, insecurity as honesty, and resentment as concern. This is why some of the harshest criticism you will ever receive does not come from those who understand your journey, but from those who secretly wish they had the courage to begin their own. Listen carefully to the way people speak when they are uncomfortable with your success. They often start their sentences with phrases like, "I'm just being realistic," or "I'm only telling you the truth." At first, these words sound helpful. But if you pay attention, you notice something strange. Their advice never encourages growth. Their observations never strengthen your character. Their comments always point toward limitation. They are not trying to make you wiser. They are trying to make you smaller. Human psychology reveals an uncomfortable pattern. A confident person does not need to reduce another person's confidence. They understand that another person's success does not steal their own. But someone whose self-worth depends on comparison sees every confident individual as a threat. Instead of building themselves, they search for flaws in others. Not because those flaws matter, but because finding them gives temporary relief from their own inner dissatisfaction. This is why criticism born from jealousy often sounds intelligent while carrying no real substance. It focuses on your personality instead of your principles. It questions your intentions instead of your actions. It attacks your confidence because confidence is difficult to compete with. They know that a person who believes in themselves becomes difficult to control. If they cannot stop your progress physically, they will attempt to slow it psychologically. Notice how they react whenever you achieve something meaningful. They rarely congratulate you without adding a condition. Anyone could have done that. Let's see how long it lasts. You're changing. These statements seem harmless on the surface, yet each one carries the same hidden message. Do not become too confident. They hope that if they plant enough doubt inside your mind, you will begin questioning yourself long before life ever does. The irony is that people who constantly criticize your ambition often admire it in silence. What they reject publicly is frequently what they desire privately. But pursuing excellence demands sacrifice, discipline, and responsibility. Criticizing someone requires none of those things. It is easier to analyze another person's path than to walk your own. This is why you must become careful about whose voice you allow to live inside your mind. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Some words are spoken to guide you forward. Others are spoken to pull you back toward the comfort that someone else never had the strength to leave. Wisdom is learning the difference. The strongest minds do not reject criticism because it is painful. They reject criticism that comes from bitterness instead of truth. Never confuse loud opinions with genuine insight. A person can speak confidently while secretly fighting a battle with their own reflection. When someone cannot compete with your discipline, they often try to compete with your confidence instead. And if they can make you doubt yourself, they believe they no longer have to face the reality of doubting themselves. Because the easiest way to weaken someone who is rising is not to stop their feet. It is to poison their mind. Once criticism fails to shake your confidence, something even more revealing begins to happen. The same people who dismissed your dreams suddenly become unusually interested in your failures. They notice every mistake you make, every setback you experience, and every obstacle you face. It is as if your pain has become more valuable to them than their own progress. This is one of the clearest signs of a mind trapped in comparison. Instead of asking, "How can I improve my own life?" they quietly begin asking, "When will this person finally fall?" This behavior is deeply rooted in human psychology. Every person seeks emotional balance. Those who build their lives through discipline achieve that balance by creating something meaningful. But those who refuse to grow often search for balance in a different way. Rather than lifting themselves higher, they wait for someone else to come down. In their minds, your failure restores a sense of equality. It allows them to believe that success was never real, that effort was never worth it, and that remaining where they are was somehow justified. That is why some people become strangely excited when they hear bad news about someone successful. They rarely celebrate openly. Instead, they hide their satisfaction behind fake sympathy, saying things like, "I knew this would happen," or "Life has a way of humbling everyone." Their words sound wise, but beneath them lies a quiet relief. Your struggle temporarily eases the pressure they feel from their own unfulfilled ambitions. The tragedy is that this kind of thinking slowly destroys the person who embraces it. Every moment spent waiting for another person's downfall is a moment stolen from building a better future. While they monitor your mistakes, they neglect their own potential. While they celebrate your setbacks, they ignore the habits that keep them trapped in the same place year after year. Without realizing it, they become prisoners of the very comparison they hoped would bring them peace. A fulfilled mind reacts differently. When a strong person sees someone fail, they do not celebrate. They understand that failure is part of every meaningful journey. They know that every person who attempts something significant will eventually stumble. Instead of mocking the fall, they respect the courage it took to climb in the first place. Only those who never risk anything believe that failure is shameful. Remember this whenever life becomes difficult. There will always be people watching, hoping that one setback will erase years of discipline. They will mistake a temporary defeat for a permanent identity. But they fail to understand one important truth. A strong person is not defined by never falling. They are defined by their ability to rise with greater wisdom each time they do. Ironically, every challenge that was supposed to break you often becomes the very reason you grow stronger. Pain teaches lessons that comfort never could. Setbacks reveal strengths that success keeps hidden. The people waiting for your collapse cannot understand this because they see failure as an ending. Those committed to growth see it as a teacher. So never measure your life by the satisfaction others find in your struggles. The applause they reserve for your failures says nothing about your future. It only reveals the emptiness they have chosen instead of purpose. because those who celebrate your fall have already abandoned the far more important task of rising themselves. When celebrating your failures no longer brings them peace, they often choose a quieter strategy. Instead of attacking your achievements directly, they begin attacking the way you see yourself. They understand a simple psychological truth. A person who believes in their own purpose becomes incredibly difficult to control. But a person who constantly doubts themselves can be guided, manipulated, and limited without ever realizing it. This is why jealous people rarely try to destroy your future in one dramatic moment. They work slowly. They plant small seeds of uncertainty and allow your own mind to do the rest. A casual joke about your ambitions. A sarcastic comment about your confidence. A subtle comparison designed to make you question your worth. Individually, these moments seem insignificant. Repeated often enough, they begin shaping the way you think about yourself. The most dangerous prison is not built with walls, it is built with beliefs. Once someone convinces you that you are not capable, not intelligent enough, not talented enough, or not deserving enough, they no longer need to hold you back. You begin holding yourself back. You reject opportunities before anyone else can reject you. You silence your own ideas before they are ever heard. Without realizing it, you become the guardian of the limitations someone else placed inside your mind. Human beings naturally seek acceptance. We want to belong, to be understood, and to feel valued by those around us. Jealous people understand this desire, even if only unconsciously. They know that fear of rejection can be stronger than the desire for success. So instead of saying, "Do not chase your dreams," they make you feel that chasing them will cost you friendships, approval, or peace. They hope you will choose comfort over growth. Sometimes they spread quiet gossip, hoping your reputation becomes weaker than your character. Other times they exclude you from conversations or opportunities, not because you lack value, but because your presence reminds them of their own insecurities. They may even pretend to support you while constantly reminding you of your past mistakes, ensuring you never fully believe in the person you have become. Their greatest goal is not to change reality, it is to change your perception of reality. But here is what they fail to understand. Your identity is not created by other people's opinions. It is created by the choices you repeatedly make when no one is watching. Confidence is not the result of endless praise. It is the reward for repeatedly keeping promises to yourself. Every disciplined action strengthens a voice inside you that eventually becomes louder than the opinions surrounding you. The strongest individuals eventually reach a point where criticism no longer defines them, compliments no longer control them, and comparison no longer distracts them. They understand that every meaningful life requires disappointing people who benefited from their self-doubt. Growth is uncomfortable, not only because it changes you, but because it changes the relationships built upon the weaker version of yourself. Never allow another person's insecurity to become your identity. The opinions spoken over your life are temporary, but the beliefs you choose to accept can shape your future for years. Protect your mind with the same determination you protect your goals, because every great achievement is born twice, first in belief, and then in reality. The moment you refuse to see yourself through the eyes of those who fear your growth is the moment their influence over your life begins to disappear. After trying to weaken your confidence, another contradiction begins to appear. The very people who mocked your habits, questioned your decisions, or laughed at your ambition slowly begin to imitate the life they once criticized. At first, it seems confusing. How can someone reject your path while secretly following it? The answer lies in the strange nature of envy. People often criticize what they secretly desire, but do not believe they can achieve. It is easier to call discipline obsession than to wake up early every morning. It is easier to label confidence as arrogance than to face years of self-doubt. It is easier to mock consistency than to practice it. Their words become a shield protecting them from the uncomfortable truth that your progress was earned, not given. Over time, their actions reveal what their words tried to hide. They begin adopting your habits, your mindset, or even your goals, but without acknowledging where the inspiration came from. Pride prevents them from admitting that the person they underestimated became the example they now follow. This is why you should never become distracted by people's opinions during the early stages of your journey. Many who laugh at your vision today may quietly imitate it tomorrow. Real confidence does not seek recognition for being copied. It remains focused on continued growth. The strongest person is never the one who wins every argument. It is the one whose actions become impossible to ignore, even by those who once denied their value, because in the end, Imitation often becomes the silent confession that admiration was hiding behind criticism all along. After understanding all these patterns, one final truth becomes impossible to ignore. Your greatest victory is never proving jealous people wrong. It is refusing to become like them. The moment you allow resentment, revenge, or endless comparison to occupy your mind, you have entered the very game they wanted you to play. True strength is not measured by how many rivals you defeat, but by how completely you master yourself. A person who knows their purpose has no reason to chase approval or waste energy answering every criticism. They understand that every minute spent fighting unnecessary battles is a minute stolen from building a meaningful life. The people who envy you are already carrying a heavy burden. They wake up measuring their worth against someone else's progress, searching for reasons to feel superior instead of searching for reasons to become better. Do not inherit that burden. Choose a different path. Let your discipline replace your anger. Let your silence replace your arguments. Let your actions become the only explanation your life ever needs. The most fulfilled individuals are not obsessed with defeating others. They are obsessed with becoming stronger than the person they were yesterday. That is where lasting confidence is born. Not from comparison, but from continuous self-mastery. So whenever jealousy surrounds you, remember this: another person's bitterness is not your responsibility, and another person's opinion is not your identity. Continue growing, continue learning, and continue walking your own path without looking back, because the greatest revenge against envy is a life so deeply rooted in purpose that comparison no longer has the power to reach you.